little better. One of the essential things you have to do as a streamer is make sure that your microphone is plugged in. Oh my god, I don't think I've woken up yet. Good morning, welcome to the morning version of Lyrebird Edits, where I'm a lot less cogent for the first 10 minutes, and nothing makes sense anymore. My voice sounds like I've just died. It's my favorite version too, Outrider SG. We get some interesting things happening in the first couple of minutes. Yeah, pro tip: if you need to talk to people over the internet, make sure your microphone is plugged in. How are you, by the way? Hope you're well. Yeah, and you got an advertisement too. Nothing quite like an ad to start off a Lyrebird edit. You should subscribe to Squarespace. What was your ad for? I'm always interested to hear, because last time it was a WoW ad. And this time I wanted to know. Now we are going to do it's 9:15. Now I need to call it quits by a little bit. No, don't die, phone. By a bit before 11, because I'm going to go and see the Book of Mormon today, which should be a lot of fun. But I have to leave for that at about a bit after 11. So we're going to have a slightly shorter stream than what we're used to for a Sunday. But, and on that note, I better just text someone quickly. I'll turn the phone off on silent. Very good. All sorted. I can't stay away for this. Oh, we'll ramp up the excitement. It's always an exciting edit. It's never boring, Sayaka. Maybe. Story about weirdos from my hometown. It's not funny. It's spread across the globe and it's become such a phenomenon. Have you seen it at Rider SG? We've got Mormons here in Australia too. There's a fairly big Mormon church close by the suburb that I used to live in, and yeah, they are friendly people. Friendly. No, nothing against them. They're just friendly. It doesn't mean with us. Yeah, sorry, Sayaka. That's the editing gets in the way of the real reason we're here. I got the live version on a day-to-day. Nice. Okay, let's dive in to the edit, seeing as we've only got a bit of a limited time. Excuse me, I may be having to bury my face into a tissue every now and then. Ooh, I'm blurry. Crisp Lyrebird. So we're going to do one more pass of Pumpkin Pie Addict's Grim Dreams. This is chapter 2, Foxhole Atheist. So we finished off chapter 1 with Wright capturing Grim and taking him into custody. I think we've delved a bit into some of the recurring structural things that we need to watch out for, including not starting sentences with the same sort of palette of pronouns, trying to mix it up a little bit, being focused on how we're grounding the story, how the images are presenting themselves, and where things are in relation to each other. That's a lot of green. That's a lot of black. Cool. So I think we can keep those things in mind, and I won't, I'll try not to sort of repeat myself too much as to what I've already said, but it's always worth just making a point. I'll try not to be sick, Sayaka, but no promises. I do what I want, when I want, and how I want it, including being sick. Also, good morning. Hope you're well, Sayaka. Hope you're well. Foxhole Atheist. 68 hours until deadline. 3 off orange barrels. That's all Tobias stared at for a long time as he fought his eyes from crashing down and retiring him to a much-needed sleep. He listened to the clashes of the gusting snow, its howling providing a haunting lullaby. A piece of ice fell in front of Tobias, snapping him out of his trance. His eyes looked to the metal roof above him, his main source of protection against Mother Nature. It wobbled and flapped in the wind's path. But didn't fall. Long ago, when Tobias started working gate duty, he feared for his life because of that roof. He tried standing inches away from that roof in case it fell. Now Tobias stood under its sharp edges, wishing for the collapse. 3, 8, 9, he counted. Yeah, good question, Outrider. Let's deal a little bit more with this first, and then we'll go back. Twice remembered being in the back of the truck going into the Arctic island base. He remembered looking outside of the truck's window, approaching the gate for the first time. The young and clean-shaven face smiled back at him. He was in awe as he travelled the spiral paths leading up the mountain. A friendly face goes a long way, someone told him his first day. All Tobias knew of the man was that he had a long unkempt beard, but he was full of life. He believed him, or at least he wanted to. Soon, however, he realized his job was anything but simple gate duty, inspection of vehicle and personnel credentials of the least of his worries. Not many visitors came by anyway. To even reach the gate, that was the accomplishment to Tobias. You earned a smile and a handshake. After his first week, he went looking on base for the person who gave him the sage, smiling advice. He never found him. His quarters were empty, and when he asked around, people said they had never heard of any personnel with a beard and a token smile. He did manage to swindle Axe he found in the mysterious man's quarters before giving up his search. Tobias used that axe to help vehicles clear tree debris caught in their wheels. This was a time Tobias got to chop a block of ice out of a windshield, hoping that going the extra mile might get him noticed by management. Maybe even find out where that bearded man with the smile got transferred. Tobias felt lucky for getting such an easy job. At least he did at first. 400. Let's take this page first, because I think we're going to have a like an introduction to a little sort of back and forth between these numbers and descriptions. It stops after a little while, but yeah, let's go back and take this first. Excuse me. So, first up, 3 off orange barrels. We've got Outrider SG commenting like they're off orange or off in the distance. Barrels that are orange. Metal Gear Liquid. I'm with Psycho. I've only ever heard of off-white, like a beige kind of color. So if you got rid of off, like in some ways I like how the repetition of off and orange off orange, that's assonance and alliteration, I guess. Off orange, no, it's not quite assonance, it's almost there. But that repetition of the first letter of orange looks nice, but then it provides a bit of a confused image. I prefer it to be a bit more simple. 3 faded orange barrels. And with that, I kind of have an impression of what this paragraph is going to be like. If you start off a paragraph like this, you need to follow it up with some description of where your character is, what they're doing in relation to these barrels. That's why we start off with this kind of opener. That's all Tobias stared at for a long time as he fought his eyes from crashing down and retiring him to a much-needed sleep. It's quite a thick sentence there. Let's break it down a bit. Where I stumble in this sentence here is, as he fought his eyes from. That's all Tobias stared at for a long time, as... what would I suggest doing? Maybe breaking it up into slightly shorter sentences. 3 faded orange barrels. That's all Tobias. That's all Tobias could stare at for a long time. Um, Full stop. He fought his eyes from crashing down and retiring into much needed sleep. Like something like that might work. Let's have a little think. As he battled his own eyes is good, and 3 orange barrels, but the color was off faded. That's a really nice suggestion, actually. Hey PPA, hello, welcome to your story. We've just started chapter 2. I've read out the first page, and we are just into the first line. Very good timing, very good. I think Metal Gear Solid was a bit before my time, and I didn't have a PlayStation 1, so that whole saga I just missed. But people rave about it and say it's wonderful. Begging him to retire for some much needed sleep. That's a good one too. There's lots of really nice little sort of reworking suggestions. Oh, it's for your teenage years, nice. Super abstract. I'm still nailing a ton of what I'm going for. I got decent reviews for this chapter though. Cool. That's good to know. It certainly has a more it is more abstract. Just from this first page alone, the way it's told reads a bit more abstract. Cool. Sprinkle in some Cowboy Bebop. You can't go wrong. You can never go wrong with some Bebop. Nearly finished watching Cowboy Bebop. Got a couple of episodes to go. I've been watching it with a friend, on and off for like a past. Geez, when did we start watching Bebop? A year ago? 2 years ago? Gotta finish it. I think you'd enjoy Bebop Outrider. It's one of the most lauded animations. That's for sure. It's a very unusual anime. It's it's episodic and it's like a sort of sci-fi western, like I think what a bit like Firefly or Serenity. That's that's the kind of vibe it gives me. Yeah, the opening song is very famous. That's a really good song. Three faded orange barrels. Now I like no, I don't have a copy of it. No. Oh dear. What I didn't do before I set up was, yep, I've lost chat. Outrider SG, could you repaste your suggestion for what you had for here, because that was really good, and I want to suggest that. I would do it myself, but thank you. Got it. I like how short and sweet this is. Good. That's all Tobias stared at for a long time as he fought his eyes from crashing down and retiring him to a much needed sleep. Hmm. Morning Octavia memories. I thought you were going to paste it to me in Discord. Anyway, you're more than welcome to do that if you like. And I haven't read any more of Sayaka's fanfiction, actually, now that I think about it. Oh, okay. You need to get a hold of me because I won't reach out to people. So this is in Octavia Memories. You can come to me because I will forget. That's reason one. Reason two is I will definitely forget. Really, definitely forget. I'm sorry for not getting in touch with you, but yeah, come to me. It's a lot easier, and that way I have a spark in my head to remember. You can come to me. No, do not confuse the context. I am Crash Sayaka. I am sorry. That's true. I do reach out to people when I am sourcing new information. That's the one time that I go and troll out to people. But otherwise I will just have mental blanks and forget that I owe people things, or yeah, just friendly reminders my way is what I need. I'm not a smart person. You need to get this brain working. Yeah, I'd be happy to, Octavia. I would be more than happy to. As long as it doesn't have any awkward fan fiction sex scenes in it. Psych, I'm looking at you. Okay, so I'm stalling here because I'm having a little bit of trouble figuring out this one. Look, you could keep it as is. Thought about stayed for a long time as he fought his eyes from crashing down and retiring him to a much later sleep. He listens. That's all Tobias dead. Ah, thank you, Octavia Memories. You have reached out to me. That's all Tobias stared at for a long time as he fought his eyes from crashing down and retiring him to a much needed sleep. Look, originally I wanted to chop this up and make it a bit more, make a few shorter chunks of it, but it's okay. I think we can leave it. You listen to the clashes of gusting snow, its howling providing a haunting lullaby. I'm gonna suggest getting rid of he listened. And to really ground where we are, that's one thing that this paragraph chunk is missing. Outside the like for example, I imagine him to be inside a like a patrol booth. Something like that. So I took what was in this sentence and I reconfigured it so that I got rid of the he, and I put in a place instead. So I removed the pronoun and proper noun, really. Same thing, right? Same thing, yeah. I've never thought of this before. Anyway, so outside your... I moved the pronoun and replaced it with, it's useful for grounding the abstract in something solid. And then you can continue on with your haunting lullaby of gusting snow swirled and smacked against the little viewport. That's a bit overblown, so you can just say a haunting lullaby of snow, like a haunting lullaby of snow swirled and smacked against his little viewport. That's fine. It's a bit too overblown. You can get rid of the snow swirled and smacked. Screamed against his little viewport. Fine, something like that. You turn it into a verb, personify it. A piece of ice fell in front of Tobias, snapping him out of his trance. Now, he's actually not, like, just going down here. I remember he's not actually outside. He's not inside. I know he isn't inside a booth, but you can replace this with the shed slash the tin roof. Hmm. Oh, cool. Okay, nice. Yeah, feel free to keep it in the patrol booth. You can still have this the tin roof thing. I really like that, and I'll tell you why when we get to it. A piece of ice fell in front of Tobias, snapping him out of his trance. You can modulate this so that it fits inside the patrol booth context. His eyes looked to the metal roof above him. You can get rid of his eyes looked and just put he looked, because it's a bit redundant. It's like saying your nose smelled a smell. It's like, well, of course your nose smells a smell. That's what it's doing. He looked to the metal roof above him, his main source of protection against Mother Nature. I want to replace that with an M dash. It wobbled and flapped in the wind's path, but didn't fall. Long ago, sorry guys, I know you're chatting here, but I want to focus on this just until the end of the paragraph, and then I'll go back and say hello. It wobbled and flapped in the wind's path, but didn't fall. Now the it here is what I want to sort of have a bit of a chat about. He looked to the metal roof above him, its main source of protection from Mother Nature. Long ago, when Tobias started working gaze duty, he feared for his life because of that roof. He tried standing inches away. He didn't want to stand underneath it. Now Tobias stood under its sharp edges, wishing for the collapse. This is a gamble that's done really well, and the payoff is good. We spend a bit of time talking about a piece of metal, which you can modulate so that like it's in relation to the guard booth, or you can find a way to rework this together. Right now, it's sort of idea A and idea B. Why I really like this is because of how it ends. Now Tobias stood under its sharp edges, wishing for the collapse. Which is fantastic. I really like that. So what you have to then balance is how patient is your reader to get to that point. Here's the setup, and here's the payoff. And I really like it. So for months and months, comma, this thin sheet of tin had threatened to uproot and take flight. It was a miracle that hadn't done so already. In the storm now, it wobbled and flapped in the wind's path like a milk tooth ready to break free from the root. So this is redundant. This is my fault here. For months and months, this thin sheet of tin had threatened to uproot and take flight, which is the same thing as that. So we can get rid of it. It was a miracle it hadn't done so already, but it hadn't. Long ago, when Tobias started working gay duty, he feared for his life because of that roof. He didn't want to stand underneath. And two, now Tobias stood under its sharp edges, wishing for the collapse. Good. I recommend getting rid of the numbers and putting in letters here. Good, done. Right, let's go back and have a look at what people were saying. Sorry, I was on a roll there, and I was gonna get distracted if I look back and forward. So forgive me for ignoring you guys, but now I'm showering my love onto you. I like how Ryder SG saying, you're smart. The word you're looking for is unreliable. Thank you. Unreliable. Unreliable edits. Hmm. This is the M dash. Oh my god, yes. Outrider MG loves his M dashes. This is still a hyphen. We need to M dash it. But it's not word though, so there's a keyboard shortcut you can do that Outrider SG knows off the top of his head, but I do not. I don't know what it is. Is Mother Nature a proper noun? Good question. I guess you can make it a proper noun. Why not? Let's do it. Let's do it. A golden shower of love. Yo, my man here is sad. Oh, well, wow. Impressive, nice. I'm gonna try that, hang on. Yo, my man here is sad. Nope. I don't know how to do fancy keyboard shortcuts. So I press and hold Alt. I don't know how to do this. Excuse me. Yeah, that's right. Like, this is a really good way to show despondency without it being like bash you over the head. I haven't got a numpad. That's the only problem. But it should work with regular numbers, right? Doesn't work for me. Hey! Thank you, TTLACC. TTLACC with the save. Bam! Oh, that was just a hyphen. Really? It looks like an M dash. There we go. Whoa. Whoa. It even came with its own background. Thank you to DLACC. Good morning. How are you? Hope you've been well. Hey. A feedback clip. Ooh, interesting. Alright, let's push on. I'm up to date with chat. Everything is lovely. Tobias remembered being in the back of a truck going into the Arctic island base. He remembered looking outside of a truck's window, approaching the gate for the first time. The young, clean-shaven face smiled back at him. He was in awe as the truck travelled the spiral paths leading up the mountain. So Tobias remembered being in the back of the truck and going into the Arctic island base. Now, I like this little abstract mini paragraph here. I'd suggest can add him to smile back. I agree. Oh. Yep, that's probably a good thing to do. What I'd also suggest doing is when you start off a paragraph like this, it's always good when starting off a paragraph like this that something often has to trigger these kinds of memory events, or at least ease the reader into understanding that they are about to experience a memory. So what I suggest doing is something like e.g. at least his he hadn't always been like this. There was a certain quality and excitement that used to accompany this work. Tobias, on seeing this magnificent facility for the first time, something like that. Now what that does is it glues the present to the abstract. And that's a really important thing to do when you have this kind of memory. It's a really good way to weave like a little sort of sneaky kind of narrative where you've got present events and past events, but often you have to sort of make it fluid like a sine wave. You have to bleed back and forward between them. Not always. You can cut and jump between them for effect. Like, for instance, if Tobias is daydreaming too much about his first experience of the mountain, and then you know, private, what are you doing? Get back to work. That's that kind of thing that comes in at a right angle, and that kind of juxtaposition's really nice. But often when you're going from present to past for the first time, it's good to just bleed it in like a slippery snake, slipping, sliding down a slide. That's a good measure, Outrider SG. This one here. If someone stumbles over something, that could just be me being stupid and needing some time to wake up in the morning. But yeah, it's often a good indication of if people are reading your work and they stumble over some things. If you cut it and it's just as strong, then yeah, that can be good too. Okay, that's good. Using a mirror to do it instead of saying, "Yeah, my man was put together." Cool. Hmm. Really, you get a douche vibe from Tobias. That is super subjective. I get a bookish nerd vibe from the name. Um, I quite like Tobias. Like, I wouldn't call my son Tobias, but um, like that Australia episode of The Simpsons. Tobias. Tobias was the boy who accepted the phone call from Bart. And ever since, no one's called their son Tobias. Yeah, no, I quite like it here. Ouch, Psycho, too real. There you go. Tobias Harris, an NBA player. Yes, Tobias. Very good. Yeah. It's such a versatile name, isn't it? Um, wow. Right, so he remembered looking outside of a truck's window, approaching the gate for the first time. Um, I'd reconfigure this to he remembered approaching this very same gate for the first time, um, peering out from his little space in the APC. I don't know. I don't know what he's coming in. It's a truck, right? So, um, it's really like maybe iced over window. You don't have to take everything here. It's just sort of suggestions. Um, the young and clean-shaven face smiled back at him. Works in a conceptual sense. What I'd like to see is what I'd like to see is an indication that he's looking at a reflection. Um, maybe A. Or maybe just in the reflection. You can even just declare it. Hmm. Now, our writer SG was talking about he was in awe. As the truck traveled as they. I like this, and I like how this bleeds into his own little sort of mini story here of the fact that he's encountered this almost ghostly figure. What I'd like to suggest about this here is, ironically, the name David means beloved, not douche. Ouch, Octavia memories. Ouch. That stings me in my heart. It doesn't really. You got the. Um, Not quite yet, PumpkinPieAddict. Let's have a little. I think our lips towards the end. I want to pick up on this because I like how you're hinting at it. Uh, the one thing that I think is missing from this section here is a somewhat solid, well, is a sentence or two where we get Tobias to engage with this figure. In some sense, I really like how ghostly it feels because it's almost too slippery to imagine. A friendly face goes a long way, someone told him in his first day. I like how that starts off. All Tobias knew of the man was that he had a long unkempt beard, but he was full of life. Well, someone told him on his first day. All Tobias knew of the man was that he had a long unkempt beard and that he was full of life. Now, but did Tobias actually meet him? Because that would then contradict this statement. All Tobias knew. That it. Because if the answer to this question is yes, if the answer is yes, then show us that instead of, show us that instead, and that will make it a lot stronger, because otherwise this implies that he's a rumor, or this was actually said to someone else and Tobias heard it from someone else. It's a little slippery. He believed him, or at least he wanted to. So, for instance, you just get rid of this sentence here. You can keep the long unkempt beard and full of life. That's a really good sort of emotional description of the character, so you can definitely keep that in. But just reconfigure it so that Tobias actually meets him and shakes his hand or something. Unless... I think you can handle the tone shifts a little bit. We'll come to it as it happens. I think because you go into and out of memory, it's a lot easier to tone shift. But let's keep that in mind. That's a good point. Let's say. Soon, however, he realized his job was anything but simple gate duty. Inspection of vehicle and personal credentials were the least of his worries. I know what you're trying to say, but I think it's the opposite of what you've said. Inspection of vehicle and personal credentials were all he had to worry about. If something is the least of your worries, it means it's baseline, and his job is actually much more in-depth than that. But it's sort of the other way around. I think that's what you're going for. Inspection of vehicle and personal credentials took up the vast majority of his time. Full stop. Not many visitors came by anyway. I don't think came by is a word. No, it's not. However, the Canby Downs coal mine is a coal mine off of, that's 16 kilometers northeast of Miles, of the Darling Downs in Queensland. So, it's a place in Queensland, but it's not a word for came by, so you have to separate them. I think you'd even have to pronounce it Canby. Yeah, tell him in the coal mine. Don't worry. Yep, I was on your wavelength there. Easy mistake to make. To even reach the gate, that was an accomplishment to Tobias. You earned a smile and a handshake. Replace that with an M dash. I'll use TTLACC's vibrant M dash. I could paste it without formatting. I probably should. Yeah. My God, look at the size of that M dash. That's even bigger than this one. Why? Oh, it's a different font. Look at that M dash. Wow. Like the Moby Dick of M dashes. That's the highlight of the stream so far. I think Saika's already onto it. That was the accomplishment of to. That was the accomplishment to Tobias. That was. I'm gonna suggest putting that was an accomplishment in and of itself. And for that, you earned a handshake, a smile and a handshake. Good. After his first week, he went looking on base for the person who gave him the sage smiling advice. Now, this is why, this is why I want like a little more up here, because we refer back to that person. But he never found him. His quarters were empty, and when he asked around, people said they never heard of any personnel with a beard or a token smile. So his quarters were empty. So that means that so people obviously know his name, but can't quite match the name to the face, right? That's the impression I get from this here, so I'm just double checking that. He did manage to swindle an axe he found in the mysterious man's quarters before giving up his search. Tobias had used that axe to help vehicles clear tree debris caught in their wheels. There was a time Tobias got to chop a block of ice out of a windshield, hoping that going the extra mile might get him noticed by management, maybe even find out where that bearded man with a smile got transferred to. Tobias felt lucky for getting such an easy job, at least he did it first. Oops. Actually, we do need to get rid of that anyway, so that's good. Before you earned a smile and a handshake. Yeah, that could work too. Oh, and for that as well, okay. Never found him might work as its own sentence. I agree, but he never found him, yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's better than what I had. Good. Don't write 16 hours straight. Jesus Christ. Impressive. Smuggle? Notice me, management. Management notices and acknowledges TTLACC. I would like everyone in chat to acknowledge TTLACC. Put a little at and provide your favorite TTLACC fact. I'll do mine first. There we go. It's not a palindrome, but it almost is. No, actually, it's not. It's not almost a palindrome. What am I saying? It looks like it could be a palindrome. I don't know. TTLACC, this is evidence of my 9 AM morning brain, because I was off the wavelength then. And reading back the story, I know now that you're actually referring to this management here and referring to the character. Oh. Why am I so stupid sometimes? Sometimes I read things in chat and I don't even think it's connected to the story. So in this example here, I thought TTLACC was after some love. And I thought I was the management. He actually meant the management here. I'm so sorry, TTLACC. How do you put up with me? How do you put up with me? I don't know. How do I put up with me? Jeez, I have to live with myself. All the time. Like, I don't get a break from me. How do I live with me? What was I gonna say? Less rent to pay. Now I've distracted myself long enough now that I forgot what I was gonna say. We're talking about swindling the axe, smuggle. Just want to talk a bit more about this before we move on. There are a couple of threads within this whole paragraph here that I want to just discuss. There's there's the man and Tobias's job, and they run in sort of parallel to each other. So some of his paragraph deals with, um, some of his paragraph deals with the interaction that Tobias has with his man, and other times it describes vehicle duties. Then it goes back to his man. Then it goes back to the vehicle duty, and it ties them together in this sentence here. I don't mind that. It's very slippery in terms of where it's going. Like you read this paragraph thinking, okay, we're here now, then we're here, then we're here, then we're here. Um, Whether or not that pays off in the end is debatable. I'm kind of tempted to just leave it because otherwise, what you have to do is you have to separate out the strands into different things. Or let's write up a little sort of comment here. The purpose of this paragraph is to introduce two story threads and tie them together. The stranger and the job. You've done that quite well by finishing off the last sentence. So by that I mean with the transfer line. If you are a bit unsure about the overall weight and impact of this paragraph, you can always do something more traditional by extracting the strange. No, you want to extract the work stuff and focus more exclusively on the stranger. That may be more concise and effective. That's what I meant. What do you guys think? What's your opinion of this paragraph? Let me go back and have a little read of chat too. Okay, cool. Yeah, like the strange is kind of like a little supernatural element. Okay, nice. Um, Maybe I would suggest then making this the focus of the paragraph, this stranger. Hmm. Yeah, feel free to paste it into Discord, and all my smart people here can come in and give their opinion. What was I going to say? For the first time in Tobias's life, he couldn't remember the last time he cut his hair, shaved, or even took a shower. Whenever shivered, he told himself to buck up, mind over matter, think of warm sunny days. He envisioned dropping himself anywhere else on the planet. For a fleeting moment, he could taste salty winds of a tropical coast. Tobias even entertained thoughts of a god dropping the island in a different climate, an industrial steel base replaced with cottages, bustling night parties, beaches, and fresh shrimp in a cocktail. It doesn't matter if you live in one of those tourist traps where they play a jingle every hour, on the hour, beach sand for industrial waste, and slushy snow in a winning trade anywhere, is a winning trade anywhere for Tobias. Beach sand for industrial waste and slushy snow is a winning trade anywhere for Tobias. 418. Or 418. Now, I want to talk about that one. Let's put a pin in that. I want to read a bit more. I want to get a bit of a feel for where this story's going before I come back and suggest a change to this one here. Hmm. No, I don't. I don't mind that line at all. I think I quite like the abstract nature of it. I've never played Red Dead Redemption though, by the way. It's missing a Max Payne quote. Um, let's push a bit forward. He didn't talk much to the other guards anymore, preferring to retire into his bed inside the base after his shift. Nobody slept much anymore. Tobias also had a second part of a job, making sure people leaving the base forget what they saw. Few people ever left. Tobias's mind remained focused on the barrels. What was in those barrels? Who put them there? How are they still standing? Are they a gift from God? He wondered. He broke his fixation and closed his eyes, feeling a restful bliss. He touched his breast pocket and took a deep breath. The door behind him opened, and the second guard came out to join Tobias. Can you believe I counted 434 steps? You could stand to lose a couple of pounds, Porter, Tobias said, eyes still closed as the man stood beside him. That boring said that you were counting my steps, Porter asked. Tobias laughed and opened his eyes. First thing he found funny in weeks. Okay, let's deal with this here. PumpkinPieAddict was mentioning a sense of repetition and a cycle, but I didn't pick up on it. The only thing that I really pick up on is the repetition of barrels. That, to me, is the only looping aspect that we've got right now. So, PumpkinPieAddict, where in the story here do you feel as though you want to introduce the repetitive cycle element? Let me know and I'll place it here and we can talk about it. No. Mistakes are the first thing you have to make before you get good. So make lots of mistakes. Plenty of mistakes. Make them all. Question for TTLACC. I have a feeling I've asked you this before, but I've forgotten the answer, so I'm going to ask you again. What does your username mean? Does it stand for something? Hmm. I'm almost certain I've asked you that before. That's coming back to me now. It's a League of Legends reference. Was it a character or something? I remember you said before that you, yeah, that's right. But you referenced something in League of Legends, but then forgot what it was. She presented the passers-by. You can write a whole little sort of like limerick about pumpkin pies. Wow. Strong Outrider SG. Where did that come from? Yeah, right. I need to tag my because of you. I need to tag my stream. Not safe for work right now. Appalling. Foul language. Oh dear. Yes, you cannot paste your links here. Um, now what was I going to say about? Alright, OSG, where did this come from? Like, what are you talking about? Do you have any tabs open in other windows that we need to know about? Close those tabs. Shut it down. Come back here into the. Oh god. Oh jeez. Oh wow. Ugh. Come back into the safe light of the Lyrebird edits. Is what I was saying. I was trying to make like a reference to you having a suspect tab open, and then I knocked my webcam over. You got me all excited. Wow. This is what you get when you go out of line, chat. You get a microphone to the face. Bam. Wow. Excuse me. Let me just check something. I think I changed the setting somewhere too. Good. Oh, right. Okay. Gotcha. I was thinking like where on earth did it come from? Um. That's, well, I applaud your creativity. I don't want you casting any aspersions on the character of TTLACC. And yes, and you implying a somewhat crude acronym. Anyway, not that you were anyway. I'm just spitballing. Um, let's dive back in. What was I going to suggest? Now, PumpkinPieAddict was talking about the repetition of a cycle, and I missed that. Two loops. You can include a third, but that's more of a meta nature. The hours to the deadline versus device counting steps revealing just some tubby guy. Gotcha. Okay, cool. I like how we don't know what he's counting until it's revealed that it's just a tubby guy walking around with his pacing steps. Yeah, I don't mind that it was kind of a bit of a bait and switch. I thought he was counting barrels or something, or he was sort of marking the time. But I was happy not knowing what it was. I'm just gonna highlight these in blue, saying to make them into words. I can't be bothered to type them out. And then it stops. So damn, this guy is bored. If he's counting steps, he is bored. Now when you said cycles, I thought there you go, time to lick a creamy cone. That's nice and PG, or even G, probably G. Time to lick a creamy cone. Time to love a crusty crustacean. Hmm. Only if you want it to be outright OSG. Only if you want it to be. I like, yeah, time cuddly crab. That's cuddly crab. Gotcha. Time to love a cuddly crab. Nothing is more cuddly than a crab. Okay, you've got the external carapace with its nice little pointy bits. You've got the snippies. It just screams cuddly, doesn't it? Hi Lord1337, welcome to the stream. Don't think so, no. This is Pumpkin Pie Addict's story. This is, how do I describe this story? Um, it's sort of like an action movie condensed down into a story. It's a bit of a military thriller, a little bit of supernatural sprinkled in. Um, but yes, welcome to Lyrebird Edits. So I get people's stories, they send them to me, and I go through and just do some suggestions, some line editing, and yeah, sometimes the people whose stories I'm editing are also in the chat box with us. So Say hello, Pumpkin Pie Addict, if you're still around. I think he's still around. Yeah, just up there. So that's this is PPA's story. And I don't know how old Pumpkin Pie Addict is, but I don't think he's a teenager, so technically not a teenage story. So when you suggested the presence of a cycle in this story, Pumpkin Pie Addict, what I thought you were going to do was actually repeat some of the elements that Tobias is examining as he's standing there in his patrol booth, looking out into the world. Now, he's obviously quite bored and his mind is sort of leaping into different areas here. When you said cycles, I had it in my mind that he would go back and do the same thing, like in a repetitive sense. So, here, for instance, is a really good opportunity here to what would I suggest you do? To repeat yourself. You've already done a bit of that already. You've done so already in terms of referencing the barrels again, which is great. I'd go one further and repeat the language you use. This is a really good way to emphasize repetition and boredom, is to repeat this even, like 3 faded orange barrels, or some variation on this. But sometimes in some of my stories, I've taken sentences and just pasted them again, which I like doing. That can create a good effect. It highlights the fact that your character is bored out of their mind. And the other thing here that I was going to suggest about this little section is that I don't know if this is necessary. It's decent in terms of what it's doing, and why I didn't go through it with the line edit was because I was sort of reading it thinking, okay, we've kind of covered a lot of this before. The only thing that's really useful about this is beach sand for industrial waste and slushy snows and winning trade anywhere for Tobias. So here we introduce the concept that this ice mountain actually has a lot of industrial waste on it. This is probably the most important part of this paragraph here. I wouldn't be sad if this didn't exist anymore. Especially because this first sentence here I feel doesn't gel well with what we've previously established. This here is sort of a bit of a filler for what can be condensed down to Tobias wished he wasn't here. So, while I like the images in this paragraph here and appreciate what Tobias is doing, he's fantasizing and projecting his boredom, I think you've done a decent job of that already. I think you've covered that ground. In addition, that first sentence stands out and doesn't gel well with what came before and after, and what comes after. You could cut this, and the story would just flow through without much hassle. You cut this entirely. But that's, I guess, just my suggestion, as is everything here. I feel like we covered everything that this paragraph is already introducing to us. So you can cut it entirely, and that wouldn't affect the quality of the story. In fact, it may even make it a bit speedier and a bit faster. It could also give you an opportunity to retrace his thought processes again and again, so you could, in place of this new information, retread over old ground, not quite like this, but in a way that's more direct, like a copy-paste kind of way, and that would help you with that sort of cycle. Yeah. I thought he was getting on a bike. You can introduce a bicycle in this. It still strikes the kids. Hello 1337. This sounds increasingly like you want this to become a Shrek fan fiction, which I'm not averse to. There's nothing strictly that's stopping me from suggesting that this could all be just Shrek. Like, sprinkle in a bit of Shrek and everything will be much better. It's although Shrek doesn't have a Boston accent yet. Mm-hmm. Consider that Boston Shrek. A magical unicorn who sells drugs to kids. I'll throw it over to Pumpkin Pie Addict. Pumpkin Pie Addict, if you think your military thriller could do with a magical talking unicorn, there are ways we can massage this in. I reckon we can make it work. Get out of my swamp in a Boston accent. I'm not even gonna try a Boston accent. I'm gonna fail, but wouldn't that be a lovely thing to hear? Lovely. Yeah, we never shivered. Thank you. That was something else I wanted to talk about. Just a couple of little typo things here and there. Yeah, yeah. That's why, yeah, I didn't. I noticed that on the first read through, but I just skimmed over it because I wanted to know where this was going. And if you cut it, then that fixes itself too. Seems like something that you could use after oneself, or not several. Yeah, good point. And we also got things like he envisioned. Yeah, we have to be a bit careful about these things too. Like, it seems like something that you could use after a single thought, not several thoughts. Yeah, I agree with that, Psycho. I think it's useful to kick off a string of events rather than having the string of events he wondered. It's useful to put it at the front. Oops. Best, good. This would also be a decent time to plug my Discord. Seeing as we got a new person here. New person, feel free to jump into the Discord and say hello. The link is directly underneath the video that you're watching right now. You'll see a little Discord banner. Click on that. Jump into Discord. He broke his fixation and closed his eyes, feeling a restful bliss. He touched his breast pocket and took a deep breath. I think that kind of travels over the same ground again, so... the door opened behind him and a second guard came out to join Tobias, so... just before we get here, just make sure that we've established where Tobias is in relation to the guard post. This is mainly for me because with some of the suggestions I placed up here before, I may have accidentally moved him inside. So if for whatever reason you're editing this and you come to this here and you go, huh, what's Lyrebird talking about? This is just a point to make sure that if you take what I was suggesting above, just to establish that he's actually outside, but that should be self-evident. So in fact, I'm gonna get rid of that. That was more for me, but yeah. Can you believe I counted 434 steps? You could stand to lose a couple of pounds, Porter, Tobias said, his eyes still closed as the man stood beside him. Except if the door opened behind him and a second guy came out to join Tobias. So if they're outside, then how was Tobias counting Porter, who was inside, counting the steps of Porter, who was inside. I'm not sure how this reconciles with itself. That's what I assumed. TTLACC, like one of those sort of security entrances where you have a booth and like a little sort of toll gate, boom gate, I think they're called, right? The long horizontal pole that goes up and down. Ooh, three eyes, really? Let's count them. Eyes, yep. Eyes still closed, yes. Open his eyes, good, yeah, good spotting. That needs to change then, if that's the case. We can't have objects being repeated like that. Closed his eyes is fine up here, for resting his eyes. Eyes still closed as the man stood beside him. I don't know if that's necessary. So for instance, if you get rid of that, um, get rid of that, full stop. Something like that, for instance, like throw in a very simple description. Then we do two things. We get rid of the repetition of eyes, which was unnecessary. Good picking up Sayaka. Well done. And we also front end the dialogue tag. It reads a bit more natural now. I still don't understand how Tobias was counting the steps of Porter who was inside. So PumpkinPieAddict, just when you're going through, clean that up a little bit. Make sure we are all eyes are a theme in this story. Okay, cool. Good to know. Because we've had the eyes of the wolf in chapter 1. Good point. They need to be a bit more pronounced then. I think repetition of like a simple entry level eyes won't come across to your reader as a theme. It'll come across as unnecessary repetition. So that's why Sayaka picked up on it. If you want it to be more of a theme, you need to go into a lot more description, provide more descriptive elements to the story about eyes. So, tired eyes, sore eyes. Tobias rubbed his eyes, trying to get something out. Spend a bit of time with the narrator, like when Porter is first introduced. Like, are his eyes doing something? If you want to, Isaac a real liar. Oh dear, you get those eyes out of his chat box. Dan's eyes. Huh. There you go. I'm surprised that that doesn't change on the Twitch chat, but it does here. That's funny. This is one of my favorite emojis. This and the smirk emoji. Um, what's your favorite emoji? Let me know in the comments section. Like and subscribe to my videos. Yeah. So that and the kiwi emoji. I think that's a really crucial emoji. We've got like all the necessary emojis, like the 8-pointed star, the clap emoji, um, yeah, and then there's the kiwi emoji, which is very important for conversation. I use it a lot on Discord. Old man Outrider SG, you gotta get with what the kids are doing with our high octane memes and our cringeworthy culture. Oh, there you go. You just about the Goku save the planet. Well, strap yourself in. The Shrek confrontation. You are outrageous, Chi. This is true. We can't deny it. That's very abstract. That's a very abstract metaphor. I also quite like the eggplant emoji. Just give me a sec. Let me know 20. Um, let's do this paragraph, and then I'm gonna have to call it quits for today, unfortunately. I just gotta get ready to go out. So we'll read through this. I'll have to think about eyes as well and see if I can suggest anything sensible towards the end. Why was it just global warming? I'll frown a lot. I got to leave you, Sayaka, but I'm never really that far away. I'm right here in your heart. I'm a part of you, just as you are a part of me. Ah. Tobias laughed. The first thing he found funny in weeks. Porter was rubbing his hands together, blowing into them. Everything about the man screamed hatred of the cold, from his oversized red winter jacket and equally oversized black snow pants. Part of his face was obscured by a balaclava. He kept his rifle at his side, dangling a few feet off the ground. Porter, like Tobias, also managed to gate, but was usually brought off the post to carry cargo or assist in repairs around the base. At least that's what they told Tobias he was doing. Porter's hands were red and hardened, covered with calluses. The very same Tobias grew in, albeit smaller quantities around his hands. But unlike Tobias, Porter was popular among the staff and management. Tobias often wondered how he had an knack for having the right answer at the right time. It was like he had his own gravitational pull, the kind that got people either running the place or dead. He remembered meeting Porter for the first time. He wore red steel-toe boots that left a loud sound when he walked, as though he was drawing attention to himself. The same he wore today. Drink from the pool of Sayaka. Oh, oh my goodness. Um, just to tell the footsteps. I feel like there's a lot of information here in this paragraph that how many words is it? We spent, I'm gonna, yeah, 100, oh, 200, gosh. It's quite a big chunk that gives us information that we don't necessarily, I don't think we need this here. While it grounds us in, giving a description of who Porter is, so this paragraph, there's a couple of things. One introduces Porter, contrasts Tobias against Porter. 3 explains very subtly the steel toe boot sound that Tobias was using as a count. Now, this here, I don't. This last one about how this, if this is the case, in the previous sections, drop a sound clue. Tell us that Tobias is listening for a sound. The steel toe is hitting. And that's what he's counting. Just for sound. You don't have to spoil the surprise, but we need to know that Tobias is actually counting based off a sound rather than just ephemerally. I don't mind these first 2 elements. There's a bit of redundant information in here, like part of his face was obscured by a balaclava. I like this sentence about everything about the man screamed hatred of the cold. TTLAC. So unless he did 2 foot taps at once to mess up Tobias's counting. What a dick. Who would do that? You can put this at the end of what it was rubbing. You can just put rub his hands together, blowing into them. Blew hot air into them. You can mix up the tenses here. Porter rubbed his hands together, blowing into them. Everything about the man screamed hatred of the cold, from his oversized red winter jacket and equally oversized black snow pants. Dangling a few feet off the ground. Hmm. TTLACC, that's a great idea. If you want to add a bit of cheek, I think that's a really good idea, actually. Maybe consider tongue-in-cheek suggestion. Everything about the man screamed hatred of the cold, especially when he yelled to me, "Fuck the cold." I love that. Pumpkin Pie Addict, I don't know if you want to include that, but I really like that. The benefits like dental. Almost willingly. Exactly, it could be Bravey facing his fears. Yeah. I like, yeah. Thanks, Outrider SG. Back me up on this one. Yeah, do. Sprinkle it in and then see what your editor says. Or a gosh darn it, if you want to keep it nice and G-rated for the kids, put a gosh darn it in instead. I'm only a moonlighter editor. I have no professional capacity. Do I? No. What is a professional editor? I mean, you probably have to be registered to your to some sort of editors association. I suppose if you did it, if you freelanced on the side for money, that would technically make you a professional too. Liars are hard. Not least of all because he said, "Fuck the cold." You could weave in any sort of, yeah, but either way, try and weave it in. Now, 5 Atanacious cold. Registered text offender. That's a great tagline. I love that. That's the sort of thing you'd have on your Twitter bio. People can laugh sensibly to themselves, like, oh, 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 mercy me. But it's actually quite clever too. Okay. Porter rubbed his hands together, blowing into them. Everything about the man screamed hatred of the cold, from his oversized red winter jacket and equally oversized black snow pants. Now, there's a lot of block description here, and I want to get rid of one thing. He kept his rifle at his side. Unless it's important for later, in which case keep it in. This links in with his last sentence. It's difficult trying to think of what to cut. Porter liked to buy a source managed to get what was usually brought off, etc., etc. Put a comma there for all dead. To buy someone. Look, it's long and it's a bit slow, but it kind of fits. I like the detail we get about the micro story being injected in there about the right answer at the right. Well, um, mm, here's something that I think stands out a little bit. At least that's what they told Tobias he was doing. This implies that Tobias has no knowledge of what Porter is really up to. But then we have this here. Tobias was popular among staff and management. Tobias often wondered how he had a knack of having the right answers at the right time, like his own gravitational pull. Kind of got bit of, so this thing here, um, somewhat contradicts with this idea that, at least that's what they told Tobias he was doing. I'd rather keep it a bit of a mystery as to who Porter is. That way we get rid of this, which is a bit too declarative in terms of um, like this here is basically Porter is well liked, and the management doesn't enjoy questions being asked, which is the place or dead. You can keep this, but I wanted to just get rid of it for now to highlight the fact that if you do, it makes Porter more mysterious because we don't know much about him. This implies quite a bit about Porter. Um, in that there's this whole section of his character that we don't know about, and that, crucially, Tobias doesn't know about. Um, we can get rid of the Callus's line too, I think. You remember any more for the first time? This is fine, I think. Um, actually, you could use the Callus line to good effect. And then you can explain why it's a mystery. This is just a suggestion. The reason why I just this is to um, have in place of the declarative some sort of mystery around Porter. Yeah, this is just a suggestion, but it also doesn't stray so much into the tell category. It still tells, but the calluses is a neat way of showing a detail and then backing it up with a tell, and I think that's more justified. Have a think about this paragraph. I'm not really sure what to do here. Part of me just wants to scrap it and then push on with the story, but you can draw some useful information out of Porter from this, and issues too, which I won't touch on too much. Inspiration appears randomly. Who picked out his clothes for him, says Sayaka. Yeah, good point. His fashion sense is not very on point. Um, who wrote the line "fuck the cold"? That was TCLACC, yeah. A curd? A crude. A curd. They are different words. Yeah. Classic Zalgo text. I'm actually I really like it when people decay their words like this. I don't know why. It just looks funny. Zalgo text aside, I do agree with Sayako that it does feel like a backstory dump. Now, the way that you get over that is by weaving in present detail with a little snippet of the past. And the way it's done here with the red calloused hands is a good way to start off and springboard into a backstory. But I do agree, it's like a backstory dump. You need to sort of make a hey, there we go. Nice. Friends coming with some comments here. Yeah, you need to make it a bit less of an info dump. Just marry it together with present tense detail, I think is the way to overcome that. But it is a little on the thick side, so I'd suggest cutting it back. This stuff here, for instance, we can get rid of. I feel as though um for instance, you can get rid of these two sentences here with this. In addition to to the oversized coat in balaclava, everything about the man screamed hatred of the cold. And then you can put in the fuck the cold line here as well. This takes up less space than these two sentences and they say the same thing. So find ways to sort of prune it back a little bit and be careful about too much backstory here. Uh, the edit flow through. But no, this is a clever suggestion. You should spice these details in a few times during interactions with the character. But it's actually, yeah, a really good suggestion. I want a bit more dialogue, so sort of cut it. For example, maybe um, dialogue and then get straight back into the description. So you sort of spice it in between a breather of a dialogue. I like that. Is it? Yeah. Okay. Cool. I sort of get the feeling you're sort of ranting about characters. The trick is to make it interesting about interesting enough that when you introduce a character, it doesn't feel like it's a dump of information, but it feels like it's a justified piece of prose. Good. All right, done. I'm gonna call it there. Um, next stream, I think we're doing a story by Outrider SG, and I'll try and get some fresh blood into the stream as well. I'll go out and ask other people if they would like to have their stories edited. But yeah, good. I hope this was useful today. I always miss you, Senpai. Thank you, Real Sayaka. Thank you. My blood is very stale. Yeah, it is. We need some fresh blood. That's what we need. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to editing your story out, Ryder. Um, oh, we could do actually. Yeah. Let me think about that. I'll make a decision over Discord and I'll let you guys know. I'll probably do Sean's, but I could do my own story too. That's a problem, Sayaka. You should see a doctor immediately. Hmm. I'll have a think. I'll have a think about what to do next stream, and I'll let you know over Discord. Okay, cool. Thank you everyone for joining me. Thanks, PumpkinPieAddict again. Hope you found this useful. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to put the link to this story into the Discord and other people can pour through it too. And yeah, hope you guys have a lovely Saturday afternoon / Sunday morning if you're in my time zone. But yeah, we will catch you Thursday night, 9 p.m. my time. Great.